But don't be ashamed if you get confused when you talk to your friends or you watch the news. They try to tell you where it all went wrong. Now you don't need to argue, just sing this song. It was rich people stacking the deck, rich people with big fat checks, rich people, they're having a ball, rich people been us all.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Yeet the Rich. I am Emily Walsh, and I'm here with my co-host, as always, Danny Moss.
Howdy do there, partner.
Didn't care if that was, I guess I didn't not like it, but
right.
how'd he do there?
I was just thinking about, Woody, because we got a little Woody doll for Frankie.
Toy Story.
Yeah, Toy Story.
Yeah, that's what that.
Yeah, oh, yeah, the from Toy Story.
From Toy Story. There's a snake in my boots.
That's right.
All right, and this is, okay, we got to do baby and beverage.
Yeah, okay.
Baby's
we've
asleep.
Had coffee.
We've had so many coffees.
Yeah, not enough somehow, still,
I've
but
had
a lot.
3 coffees and a Coke Zero.
And we're not talking, they're not all just Dunkies coffees.
No.
We were high octane, baby.
Yeah. And now whiskey. It's been a day.
Yeah.
It's been a day. I have poison ivy. That's
that's fun.
sick. Yeah, I didn't know that adults, I mean, obviously anybody can get, I feel like an 11-year-old because I have a sunburn and poison ivy for the first time since maybe, like sunburn, like I guess my 20s, but like I'm pretty diligent.
We went hard this weekend. So.
Yeah, we lived it up and great weekend. Frankie loves the beach.
Yeah.
Her job is beach.
She is beach, frankly.
She is beach.
Yeah.
She makes me want to move to the beach, honestly. She loves it so much. And And we're doing whiskey because it's just
that's right.
It's
been
just
a
long
weekend,
and
a long
also
day.
this.
I think I'm gonna need a bracing whiskey for this
This
episode.
one's gonna be
Everybody, maybe
pretty
if you're inclined, grab yourself a whiskey.
Yeah, but before we get into part 3 of the Irish Potato Famine, aka potato genocide, we're gonna do a couple fun facts about Ireland.
Oh, okay, great.
To kind of just be in a
Sure.
better mood.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
So there's an Irish festival where a wild goat is made king for 3 days.
Hey,
It's pretty fun.
is it in a specific town or like the whole, country?
Not the whole country.
Ireland?
No. It's called Puck Fair, and it's one of the It is said to be the longest running festival.
Got it.
In
A la
Ireland.
like Puck from Midsummer Night's Dream.
I don't know. I'm just googling fun facts.
Fair.
So, I think it's a goat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Puck was maybe it was a fairy. He was a
Well,
fairy.
no, he was in Midsummer, but if it's the longest running, one of the longest running festivals, maybe it precedes Shakespeare.
Yeah, so
is
Shakespeare
what
might have, because I bet this goat is like a trickster goat of some sort.
Well, every August, a goat is caught from the Kerry Mountains and placed in a cage in the village of Kilgoran, which I don't know why you're doing that to your king.
No,
But
he's not yet king. So
well, he's crowned king, and there's 3 days of festivals in the town, and then
God.
they bring him safely back up to the
Oh,
mountains.
okay, good. I was gonna say they didn't eat him after making him king, right? Because that'd be really rough.
That would be. But also, like the Irish people probably hate the monarchy, so maybe
maybe they're like, this is an upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which also, fun fact, this is not an Irish fact, but we went to the Faroe Islands, which is technically part of Denmark. They're semi-autonomous, mostly autonomous at this point. But in order to geo-map, for like Google Maps, they basically strapped one of those like Google Maps GoPros on the back of a sheep and let it walk around the island. And those islands have more sheep than people.
Yep.
There's a lot of puffins there.
We stayed on one with more puffins than people.
They were in the National Geographic one time 10 years ago, and then their tourism boomed.
Basically, white girls on the internet found out about it, and we were like, let's go.
Yeah.
And we did go. And it was great, but also they did not know how to make maps or trails or
no, but
food
we had a lot of
after
fun.
8 p.m. But we did have a good time.
We did have to, trespass through a couple of sheep fields.
Yeah, and we camped, and Danny got attacked by a goose. But that's a story for another time.
Yes, but
we gotta get moving.
Yeah, let's get on in it.
We got a lot of depressing facts to talk about. So again, the source for these episodes are "The Graves Are Walking: The Great Famine and the Saga of the Irish People" by John Kelly. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do a really quick because we got to keep moving, and presumably you guys have listened to part 1 and 2. Presumably, but
if not, welcome.
Stuff is bad. It's the summer between potato harvests, so they've had one tough year. They have lost people, but it's not full
they were like,
on
oh boy, that was
starvation.
rough. Good thing it's over.
Good thing it's over. This year's potatoes should be fine.
Yeah. Did we do anything to change the potatoes?
No,
we did not.
But the British kept claiming that the Irish were just bad people, so that's why they're dying, which is sick.
Yeah,
really cool.
Pretty cool.
But okay, so for the past 2 episodes,
Goat King would never do that.
Goat King would never do that. For the past 2 episodes, which kind of makes me believe this might be a 5-parter.
Right.
But for the past 2 episodes, we've been talking about 1 year. You remember everything haunting I said to you?
Yes.
How many, percentage-wise, how many potatoes do you think they lost in the year we've already spoken about?
45%.
Only 25.
No.
It's about to get a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
It's about to get worse.
I feel like because they needed potatoes to feed so many families, I feel like they were also there was not a lot of potato surplus. So like this is about to get
really
bleak.
bad. Really bad. So, we're I got nothing.
Potato no.
Potato no.
Potato no.
Our child now goes, and that's how I feel right now.
Yeah.
It's bad. So it is summer of 1846 in Ireland. And in the month of July, there were plenty of social diversions for the medium to wealthy to distract them from the latest crop reports. They were going to horticultural exhibitions. They were going to county fairs. There was cockfighting in Country Cork. They were all bopping around.
Just guys, the potatoes are dying.
Yeah.
Get out the roosters.
Get out the roosters. And everybody who is like above the starvation line, and maybe those people as well, but I don't know how many jokes they're making.
Yeah.
Kind of had the same joke that they thought was very funny, where somebody, the paraphrasing, because I'm not going to do an Irish accent because I think I'd be really bad at it.
Right.
Is they're like, hey, what's your belief? And he's like, I have the same belief as my landlord. And they're like, well, what's that? And he's like, I haven't paid rent in 5.5 years, and she believes I never will, and I believe that too.
Yeah, that's fair.
Pretty good joke.
That's a pretty good joke. Maybe you could do the next one in a Boston accent, since you feel pretty comfortable.
I could fucking do that, kid.
Fucking Boston, kid.
I could do that all day. But not even that well. I just have certain words. But anyway, I digress. The people who were suffering didn't really need distractions because they were literally only focused on trying to stay alive.
Sure.
And they were consumed with the rising food prices and the empty government depots. The depots are running out of corn. Reports were coming in from hundreds of localities that they were a few days away from thousands being launched into the endless abyss of an awful eternity.
Wow.
And again, I say, if you could monetize haunting phrases, they would be fine. If you could monetize being so upsetting that you make me want to crawl into a cave, they'd be
doing great.
Killing it.
If you could eat sadness,
if you could,
buddy.
If you could eat sadness, they would be full.
It'd be feasting.
Oof. So in Skibbereen, they said, I defy anyone living to exaggerate the misery of the people. It is impossible. So it's bad. In the middle of July, a 10 to 12 acre man, one of those medium types of people, someone who would have been respected, lived in a cottage instead of a cabin, paid their rent, and their family, did okay. These people were walking 12 miles to another depot to, one of these men, he walked 12 miles with a letter from his local priest saying he was on the verge of famine. And when he came in, they said they could see the skin hanging off his body like an oversized coat. Ooh. And he was like, I just am starving. They're like, why did you walk 12 miles then? And he's like, because I couldn't admit
there was nothing
defeat.
else to do. Yeah.
Well, they didn't go in their local places a lot of times.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There were many reports coming out that summer about the blight continuing, but by late July, tens of thousands of infected but healthy-looking potatoes.
Oh no! You've got what is it? The
Schrodinger's potato?
No. The what is it called with COVID when they asymptomatic? You've got a bunch of asymptomatic potatoes.
Asymptomatic potatoes
causing a real problem
and about.
Yeah.
They are being sold to merchants who resold them to shoppers who watched them turn black in the boiling pot. So it's pretty bad. Constabulary officers were in the fields monitoring the crops, and out of the 8,000-man force, there were almost 2,000 that were over 6 feet tall, which I think is wild. And they all wore a leather harness in their training so that they had perfect posture. So these constabulary officers were spotted very easily.
And they just found all the 6-foot-tall men and were like, put them
we
in.
Need you.
Give them a mustache and get them out in the fields.
Get them out in those fields.
I don't know if their cops have mustaches, but it'd be funny.
Yeah. The bobbies.
Yeah.
The bobbies have mustaches in cartoons.
Yeah, I would think so, right?
I would think so. This year, the pattern had changed, and while a year before they could have a ruined field and then a pristine field right next to that, now it was hard to find any field without spotted leaves, and unless they got some better weather before October, they were going to have a second major crop failure.
Whatever happened to the science people being like, put copper sprinkles?
It takes too long. They put the copper in the wrong place. They put smoke. It takes a while. It takes a while. And also, a lot of people that have the resources to like do scientific testing were kind of like, maybe it'll just be 1 year. Like, they all are kind of right now living in this bubble of like, well, we got through it, everybody.
Yeah, we're
pat each other on the back.
Sorry, I got a rooster I got to bet on real quick.
Yeah, I gotta go. I'm not working this summer. The Europeans, they take like 12 weeks off a year. For the spring, weather remained somewhat temperate, but then in July, the skies had opened up and there were deep pools of water in the meadows, gravel, and mud washing through the potato fields, and billions of fungal spores were traveling through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that's how it travels. So the washouts are just making it traveling
jungle.
Faster. It's the fields. In July, reports were worrying about this year's crop. They're finally starting to pay attention. And in 72 to roughly 96 hours of July, the better part of that year's crop was already gone.
Oh.
And not just the early crop. So the early crop is like the first one that goes to merchants, and then the rain churned up the loose soil and got underground to the, quote, grand crop, which is what fed peasants from October to May.
Okay, so the potato, because the potato grows down, makes a bunch of potatoes, but keeps growing down, makes a bunch more potatoes.
Yeah.
They harvest the top layer of potatoes and sell them, and then the rest of it is what
they
feeds
harvest
the
to
world.
live on.
Yeah.
And those are done.
The grand crop.
People were scraping desperately to try to unearth potatoes, finding nothing useful, and a relief official in Cork found a cabin with 2 naked children on a pile of stones, a malnourished woman with them, and a newly dead infant who had starved because its mother had no milk.
Oof.
Things were much, much worse. The potatoes were black and rotting, and the livestock wouldn't even eat them, and people were starting to warn that violence could come if they were pressed that much more by hunger.
Good thing everybody was super slow to act. Oh, good.
Count Dracula was written in 1897 by a Dubliner.
Oh, Bram Stoker?
Fun fact.
Wow, he's from Dublin.
He's from Dublin.
Huh. That makes sense. It's kind of bleak.
Yeah. I thought I just went to the next. I haven't pre-read these fun facts.
No. I think it's great.
They're coming in hot.
Yeah.
So, Pine Coffin. Do you remember him?
Yeah. That's where Dracula might hang out.
Yeah.
You're like, no, thank you. No, thank you to that.
Well, he's also part of the relief, and it's not going well, and he's very...
We don't like Pine Coffin.
No.
Right?
And also his name's Pine Coffin.
Hard to respect a man named Pine Coffin.
And he also is like already with bad takes. He's like, that awesome job we did last year is already being ruined. And you're like, you didn't do an awesome job.
You kind of did nothing.
Yeah.
Except for teach people about dried hash browns.
So you remember how I said 25% of last crop was gone? And how they ate from October to May on potatoes?
Yeah.
By August 18th, 75% of the entire harvest was already gone.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the stores are empty.
Yep.
And what's left in the stores are rotting.
Yes.
Dope.
Trevelyan, who we also don't like, had ordered in July to close the public works program and the food depots by August 15th. Ruth and others thought this was nuts and that even closing the sites would take time because the roads really would be going nowhere, because that was part of all the public works jobs were kind of just not doing a whole lot of public work. And many thought that closing these would essentially be committing to general starvation. Like, if we do these last measures, this is committing to the idea that everyone is going to starve. But Trevelyan he didn't want to stop providing relief, but he wanted to restructure the relief program. And he was operating, even though 75% had already died, he was operating under the estimation made by the Scientific Commission that it would be a 50% crop failure. And Peel had done all this big work in 1845 for what turned out to be a 25% crop failure. So he really wanted to restructure it and get a better idea of the data before doing any action. while I can almost sort of appreciate that, you can't stop helping to help better when people are dying.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because it's moving fast. This hunger is now, because it was already bad. You've used up whatever stores that everyone had in their bodies to hold on.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no fat, there's no taters, there's no nothing.
No.
And he also wanted to make it a more efficient system and get rid of possible fraud and abuse, which, again, you can't focus on right now, my guy.
Yeah, because yes.
Peel had also, he had meant to buy 100,000 pounds of American corn, and it ended up being 185,000 pounds, and that did hurt the food prices that were on the market. So that is a tricky thing because you want the market to succeed, but you also need to feed these people. And politicians really wanted the programs to come to an end because they didn't want to teach reliance on government, which we've talked about
because of,
a lot.
Their moralizing nonsense.
Because you're a bad person if you ever need help.
Yeah, let alone that, like, the idea that you're in a fully industrialized world and country, and you have all of the ability to solve this starvation that is not that far away from you. It's not across the world.
You're witnessing it.
It's right there, and you didn't do that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So in most places, the deadline of closing these things on August 15th did hold. People closed them. But towards the end of August, several hundred people marked on Westport in Mayo went to the Westport House and demanded Lord Sligo for help. And he kind of brushed them aside and told them to put their faith in good intentions. This interaction did resolve itself peacefully, but it would not be peaceful for long.
No.
Meanwhile, Old Ireland, our friend O'Connell, who's like this politician speaker guy, and the Repeal Association, the political organizations in Ireland, were fighting with each other and not preparing for the crisis, which is not helpful.
No.
Young Ireland, the group of younger men that were really fired up, that were like, maybe violence is okay, because the older O'Connell was like, never violence, and they were like, but
just a little
as a treat.
Violence. Yeah.
Yeah. They were well-born Protestant. Some were educated in the UK, and they had a very idealistic vision of Irish nationhood that leaned on a German romanticism. Old Ireland were Irish Catholic and old-fashioned, so they're clashing for sure.
Okay. Yep.
And in the years leading up to this crisis, they had had big disagreements over education reform, federalism, and the use of violence. And now they're fighting about the repeal of the Anglo-Irish Union. Young Ireland wanted the restoration of Irish nationhood to be holy and inviolate. They were like, this is what we need. It is sacred. We're not doing any compromises. We're not our focus is to be our own nation. And O'Connell, who was from the older group, was the father of that movement, but he was not by any means necessary.
He wasn't adamant to that specific thing.
He wasn't as, I think, from just this brief reading, I'm not a historian on this at all or on anything, but my feeling is that he just had the wisdom to know that sometimes you need to compromise, and they were all or nothing, familyless men who were like, who cares? Let's go die for our deals. And he was like, but what if we just didn't do that?
Yeah.
But in 1830s, the Liberator, our friend O'Connell, made a temporary and unofficial alliance with the Whig Party. But in 46, when he was seen leaving the home of the future Prime Minister Russell, who was a Whig, Smith O'Brien and his lieutenant Mager, who were both young Ireland people, were worried that he was out there making a deal. The Nation, which was the newspaper of Young Ireland, said in all caps, "Never trust a Whig." And on June 13th, O'Connell countered that. He wrote to the Repeal Association in an open letter and mocked Young Ireland for their dissension, hoping that would calm things down. I don't know why he thought being like, let me poke fun at them and they'll shut up. But that did not work, and Mager, one of the lieutenants, responded by saying that the Whig alliance was writing "fool" upon the tombstone of every Irish patriot. An associate of the younger men said, there are times when the issue must be decided by a man's blood.
Oh, God, yeah.
So things are kicking up.
So they're like maybe a little violence is like you know what? Violence. Did you say violins?
No.
Violence.
They also were like, their argument was, would a George Washington sign? Okay. Oh, sorry. I skipped ahead. So on July 15th, they had a meeting, and the olds tried to get the youngs to sign a nonviolence pledge.
Okay.
And the young guys were like, would George Washington sign a nonviolence pledge?
Probs not.
And apparently they all were big fans of George Washington, so they did not sign it. And they tabled the issue for a few weeks later to a general meeting at the end of the month. At that meeting, O'Brien, who was one of the major leaders of the Youngs, kind of danced around what he was saying, kind of was like politely like, maybe I'll be violent, but he wasn't like committing to anything. Yeah. And but the younger 22-year-old maker started reasonably, but then quickly ramped up and called the sword a sacred weapon, and that like really insisted on violence. And O'Connell told him to sit down and shut up. But when the other young men defended him, they all stormed out. So the young guys all stormed out of this general meeting.
Okay.
O'Connell got what he wanted when these young men left, but he was taking a risk because if his alliance with Russell and the Whigs didn't work out, then everyone would say that he had been duped and that he was splitting up their most important domestic political organization. Mm-hmm. So he is basically risking
blowing it up. Yeah.
He's blowing it up because he doesn't like the way they do things. So we'll talk about that more later, but that's the state of Irish politics.
Okay.
And John Russell, who is now the prime minister, when he was young, his brother told him that he should try to help Ireland if he wanted to make a mark on the world because, quote, the gratitude of the millions and the applause of the world would attend the man who would rescue that poor country. So he decided on justice for Ireland, and he planned to modernize it. He wanted to reform education, improve tenant-landlord relations in the treatment of the poor, but he was not a particularly charismatic or powerful speaker, and Peel had been, so a lot of people would just compare him to him. There were a lot of like mean political cartoons where he's like wearing Peel's big suit, and they're like, it's never going to fit. Like, didn't.
Sure. Classic.
And he took office in July 1846 when things are like hitting.
Yeah.
Every shit is hitting every
fan. It's tough to be
fan.
like, guys, I really want to try to do like educational reform.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately the entire country is
schools are
starving.
Closed
yeah.
Due to lack of aliveness.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll happen.
There were only 3 Irishmen in his cabinet, and they didn't want to put more financial pressure on the Irish landowner because they thought if they had to pay more, they would also end up in the poorhouse. So they did not like the idea of taking on, because again, if we, the English have this idea that the middle class and the upper class should help pay their poor, help the poor, but the Irish don't want to do that.
We're not into that.
The cabinet, other than the 3 Irish, also had 3 moralists, the people who thought that they shouldn't help, and we're more focused on remaking the Irish character. So there's 3 Irish landlorders and there's 3 moralists.
Yeah.
One
moralists, I do not like.
Not a fan.
Not a fan.
One of those was a guy named Charles Wood, who was the new Chancellor of the Exchequer. I don't know what that is. I apologize. He's in the cabinet. Exchequer?
Yeah. Exchequer, I think.
Are you...
No, I think that's what it is.
I believe you, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know what it means, but I think it's Exchequer.
Great.
I've heard it in an audiobook once.
Got it. Well, Charles Wood is a big fan of Trevelyan, and he wrote him like an admirer's note. So that's not a good sign.
No.
Public opinion also wasn't really super high about the Irish people for Brits. Brits are not big fans of the Irish right now because in 10 months they had sent £800,000, but it didn't avoid famine and
Well, they spent it all on pamphlets.
Yes. But the question was, did that money stop the famine, or was there no famine because it wasn't actually that bad, is the sentiment in the UK now. They're like, but what did we... It seems like they're fine.
Yeah,
like, I don't know why we sent all that money.
Not on the precipice of doom.
And also, we've talked about this before, but at this point, the Irish are so dependent on the potato, but I don't know that everyone's like fully
they don't understand
grasping that
yeah.
because the Brits are bringing up the fact that the Dutch had lost 75% of their potatoes. Belgium, 87%. Ireland, only about 25%.
Yeah, but
so
no other country is as reliant on the potato,
Yes.
it seems like.
And now people recall seeing maybe a lazy couple of public workers or mothers lying about how many kids they had to get more corn. So they're starting to come up with these anecdotes, which may or may not be true about the Irish
But
character.
also, like, everybody loves to, like, pick on a little fraud or little moments of like, cheating the system. But even if it is, like, a thing that is happening, which is, again, it's very hard to prove that it is, it's usually, like, 2%, 1% of the overall like amount of money that was spent. So you're not trying to like solve that one thing, even if you were able to solve it somehow miraculously.
Move the numbers
it's putting a
much.
Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Like there's much bigger problems. Stop focusing on this.
And at this point, the first time the O'Connell-Russell alliance is tested, the politician and the party, it failed. Russell was like, I don't really think we need to help more. And O'Connell left that meeting depressed, and on his yearly trip to his family estate in Kerry, he said that he felt something fundamentally break inside of him.
Ooh.
And he returned to Dublin after this a dying man.
Oof. Wow.
Yeah, it's
he
tough.
really, yeah.
Broke
So
his heart.
he blew up his whole like opposition party.
Yeah.
He was, teamed up with this guy who was going to be in power, and that guy was a wet sock.
Yeah, basically.
That's a tough road. And now he's going to just die of sadness.
Die of old Irish sadness.
Old Irish sadness. But if only you could eat sadness.
He'd be full.
Yeah.
He'd be stuffed. In August, reports started saying that the suffering was going to be much worse this year. Spoiler alert. That was a little waste of paper printing that. We know it. And across Europe, people are losing potatoes like crazy. They've lost 60%, 67% in the Scottish Highlands, 43% in Belgium, 50% in Denmark. And so with that fear, the London corn market bid up the price of a quarter, which is 480 pounds of wheat, by almost 50% from the year before. In Dublin, a stone of potatoes was now 15 pence, which was 3 pence 2 years before. So prices are crazy different.
Yeah. How are they dealing with like wild inflation and other stuff like that? Because it feels like money, their like monetary system is.
Well, they don't really have money is the problem.
That's right.
So they're the people who are doing. A lot of people were abandoning working on the farms at all, and we're going to talk about this later, because the farmers used to pay them in potato ground, and they don't want potato ground, so they're trying to get on public works to get wages to buy this corn.
To build more roads to nowhere.
But what they're concerned about is getting a cash wage, which they've never gotten before.
Right.
But they need it in order to live now, all of a sudden.
All of a sudden. In kind of the worst time in history to start a new financial system.
Yeah. They calculated that they would need 1.5 million pounds of maize to get through the year, and that might not even exist, let alone be available. Like, that amount of food might not be on the earth. And if they got it, the market would still be able to charge famine prices, like the regular people, etc. And Lord John Russell, the current prime minister, is really living in Peel's shadow. In August, he addressed the House of Commons, reading 3 different letters expressing from different people in Ireland that the potato was dying off much more than before. But he didn't think that the Brits should bear the cost for a second year, so beside the 50,000 pounds he set aside, he wanted to pass the cost on to the Irish gentry, creating a targeted tax called the labor rate, which, quote, fell on persons possessed of property in a distressed district.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to love that.
They're going to love that. The Treasury would loan money for public works, but it used to be that if you got $10,000 for a road, you'd get to only pay 5 back. They had some partial grants for land for road building.
Sure.
But now the loans would have to be paid in full at 3.5% interest, which did not exist before either.
Wow.
So much less appealing.
Yeah.
By now, the gentry's participation was no longer voluntary either. Last year, they had kind of been like, hey, guys, what if you helped?
To help, and they didn't. And then
so now they're like, hey, sorry.
Yeah, last year you could have done better last year. You didn't.
So this year you got to do it. No choice. No choice. Do it. No choice. That's the sentence.
Yeah.
3 coffees, 1 whiskey,
Full of ivy.
covered in poison ivy. Dublin Castle could now compel them to help. It also reduced the government corn program from a national program to a regional operation. Not going to help.
No, probably
Peel
not.
endorsed this plan from afar because he wasn't responsible for Ireland anymore, and he was more worried about
Where's
the
he?
moral
Is he
debasement of helping rather than saving lives. The second year would stamp a permanency on a relief. So they're all like, if we do this again, they're going to think we're going to do this every time
Even
they're
though
almost
it's
dying.
way worse of a crisis.
Yeah. We helped you already. That's like helping somebody get a splinter out and then they break both their legs and you're like, sorry, I helped you with this. I'm tapped out of goodwill.
Yeah, if I helped you with this.
Yeah. The next time you break
tomorrow,
both
what
your
are you going
legs.
to do? Yeah.
So Wood and Trevelyan collabed on a new non-helpful plan, which would create a new public works pay structure based on productivity. Because that's the other thing is they were getting a day's wages, whether or not they broke rocks. So they all kind of just hung out and tried to save their energy.
Yeah.
The new labor rate.
Because they were starving to death.
Because they were starving to death, literally starving to death. The new labor rate, the tax, would foster a moral responsibility in the middle class that didn't normally want to help. The government would only interfere with the West, where it was much worse, maintaining the depot system there. But in the East, they would have to keep the corn to a free market. So they could buy corn, but the cost would be determined by the merchants. But to encourage private trade, they would have to keep the depots closed until after Christmas, and when reopening, charge the market price, not at cost. So last year they charged at cost.
Okay.
Now they're going to charge the market rate. So whatever the lowest merchant cost is, the depot is going to charge them that. Mm-hmm. London would no longer be able to control the market prices from London in Ireland, which is what they were doing when they sold at cost.
Right.
Other people had to keep their costs low to compete.
Oh, I see.
But now they're going to say, oh, you guys think it's £15? Great, let's charge £15.
Uh-huh.
Within weeks, 3/4 loss, 75% of potato loss went to 5/6 and then to 6/7.
Oh.
And while potatoes could still be found in nice hotels, everyone else is suffering. A priest in Cork wrote to the Relief Commission talking about how they were starving and waiting for death. The peasantry look forward, not merely to distress and want, but to famine and annihilation with an appearance of calm resignation, rather to be wondered at than described. They are like the old sailor who, believing destruction inevitable, sits silently over the magazine, awaiting the blowing up of the ship as she burns. Wow. Again, dark as hell.
Bleak.
So bleak. So bleak. But poetic. It makes me want to... I mean, it would be bad for me, but it makes me want to like read a bunch of Irish poetry.
Yeah, beware, Emma Walsh. Madness lies there.
I don't think I can do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for me.
A feast of sadness.
A feast. I don't need any more. I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, the Inspector General of the Coast Guard authorized free cornmeal to some villagers in a mountain range with zero food when he was not supposed to do that. He was scolded by the Treasury and told that he hadn't been authorized. So people are, the boots on the ground, some of them are like, I can't. You're telling me not to feed these people, but they're literally walking skeletons. Like, I'm gonna feed them.
Their skin is a suit. We
and
need
they're
to
like,
give them food.
we can't feed them till after Christmas, and it is August right now. And they're like, 4 months from now, we'll give you corn that's expensive.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yay! That's helping.
Yeah.
But at least they won't be morally corrupt.
Because they'll be dead.
Because they're gonna.
You
be
can't
dead.
be morally corrupt after you've passed.
Yeah.
On August 28th, the Times printed a list of the latest exports out of Ireland. So you ready for all the food that they do have that they're mailing
sad poetry
away?
is the main export.
Sad poetry is the main export. 1 million pounds. 1,616 quarters of Irish oats, 1,929 packages of Irish bacon, 542 boxes of eggs, 5,606 packages of butter, 892 packages of lard, 1,240 of pork, 39 of beef, 170 hampers of hams, which I imagine is a box of hams.
Yeah, probably.
178 of malt, 132 live pigs, and 1,488 packages of fresh salmon. So lots of food.
Yeah.
But it is leaving.
It's going away.
And meanwhile, Roth had 2,100 tons of corn and 240 tons of oatmeal. And even if the free trade could help, which they weren't going to, the food would only last several western counties for a few weeks. Like, this is not going to do much for anybody. Ruth requested an emergency 2,000 tons of corn immediately, and Trevelyan approved it if it was brought in from the UK.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the 46 crops of corn were still in the fields in places like the United States and the Ukraine and wouldn't be able to ship until December or January. And they wouldn't be able to get these gigantic amounts from just UK markets. To clarify, the corn doesn't have to be grown in the UK. They have to buy it through Irish or UK markets.
Yeah.
They're like, you can buy this much more if you're paying British people for it.
Got it. As a kind of basically a political move to quote unquote pay back the
Enhance
British.
There were 2 or 3 buyers for every seller, so there are tons of people looking for food in general across Europe, and people were trying to buy corn that was still on boats, like trying to call dibs on things that are traveling. They were asking for 5,000 to 6,000 quarters of corn by November, and the purchaser that was working for the depots, Mr. Erickson, could only find about 900 to 1,000 for December. So they want 6,000 in November. Best he's going to be able to do is 1,000 in December.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not going to be not great.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad.
Going to be very bad.
Very
bad.
In Ireland, panic has taken over. And over a week, people had started in Cork City. There was 217 people applying for relief. By Sunday, it was 1,400. So relief is or need is really expanding. And Trevelyan knew that he should have approved foreign purchases of corn by then and lift the ban on other places, but it was already too late. He did lift the ban, but it was kind of already too late because all the purchasers had already called dibs on all this corn.
Right. You know something I just realized? So they're really talking about the idea of like the people becoming immorally like needy and reliant on government. But we also just talked about a man who was so guilty about the fact that he needed help.
Yeah, they have.
That he walked 12 miles
They
while
don't
starving.
want to be reliant on the government.
Yeah.
They don't. That's not their goal.
Yeah. They're just dying.
They're just dying.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all insane. So in August and September, their purchaser was able to buy 7,600 tons of food. Sounds like a lot, but Ireland needed 1.5 million tons just to live. Again, this is
bare bones
to live.
Minimum.
In August and September, I just said that. And Irish merchants were exporters, not importers. So even the merchants who are now being tasked with getting more corn, they don't know how to enter the market. They're like, we just sell stuff.
Yeah, we take it from here and we know how to sell it over there.
We don't know how to go there and get stuff.
Yeah.
Bids on large purchases were too low and not accepted, but they were too afraid to go too high because they didn't want to change the market cost of food. Mm-hmm. Famine was, at this point, inevitable, and on September 30th...
Market cost of food has to be going way up because so many people need food. Because even in other countries that aren't so reliant on potatoes, it is part of their food source. So, like, they're also... What does suck is that I'm sure that, like, you know, I'm not sure Belgium was doing fine because also they were... pillaging the Congo, but you know, they were probably buying a lot of the resources of food and taking it to their countries, even though most of their people were definitely not going to starve.
Well, and it's like we're going to talk about them more later, but Scotland is part of this, like part of the UK as well at this point, and they are only suffering in the Highlands, and those men were able to go down to the lowlands and get factory jobs without leaving their country, without like So they had an
still not something they wanted to do, but
it was much easier transition and et cetera. Yeah. So on September 30th, corn was up to 16 pounds a ton, which was almost 50% up from September 1st. So across 1 month, it's gone up 50%. The barter economy failing was hurting everything because oats were growing overripe in the fields, but there was no harvest labor because the agricultural workers were fleeing to market towns to hope to overturn the canceled relief programs for work, and because the farmers couldn't pay them with anything other than potato ground.
Oof.
Yeah. So there's food to be had, but they can't.
And also work to be had. But they don't have a way to pay them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People started petitioning Dublin Castle to please reopen the public works program. They're showing up with rags, with no bedding, with no food. They're like, please just give us work. And some predatory landlords started even evicting small tenant farmers. Farmer Thomas O'Brien and his family was evicted in a matter of 30 minutes. His cabin torn down, his sheep seized for rent, his family turned out. A few days later, friends of his killed the agent's dogs and shot the landlord's prized horse. So they're trying to retaliate in any way they can.
Yeah.
And the poorhouses that we've talked about a few times that people don't want to be in had been in the 40 percentile range for occupancy, but now men are scaling the walls to get in.
Wow.
Occupancy rates rising and reaching 80%, and people who ran them feared over 100% occupancy, so they started cutting meals from 3 to 2 a day and reduced their staff. And in early September, they finally announced that they would reopen a few abandoned public works sites on an interim basis. So very little work.
You know what a good public work probably could have been?
Harvesting that grain.
Yeah, harvesting that grain, setting up a different crop, factories and milling.
Yeah.
And setting up a new food supply.
So many things.
Yeah.
You could even pay them to hand out the government corn.
Right.
But they're sending British people over to do that.
Yeah. Insane.
By late September, the landed classes were burdened with debt and could not provide the relief that the UK had expected. And without intervention, the corn prices are still going up. And now that prices are surging, by the end of September, everyone is saying, here comes the famine. But also, Ireland's oldest pub is one of the oldest on Earth, dating back to 900 AD.
Wow.
Sean's Bar
Sean.
in Athlone Town is the oldest pub in Ireland. It's also widely believed to be the oldest pub in the world.
Wow.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
If you're in Ireland, go to Sean's.
Like it's just Sean.
Just Sean.
I didn't realize Sean was such an old name.
Yeah.
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 Maybe it changed names over time.
Or
Hard to
maybe
say.
it's an old name.
Maybe it's an old name.
Hard to say.
Hmm.
In Skibbereen, a region that looked like the Middle Ages as far as advancements, there was still hardly any English spoken. They had about 104,000 people, and they were almost entirely dependent on the potato. And at the end of July, they could boast that in 10 months there wasn't a single starvation fatality. But now their reserve is gone. So they made it through the first year, and they were really proud of themselves as a region to be like, we did it, nobody died. But now everything they had was gone. They were living off the government and waiting on the early crop. But since that failed, starvation set in basically immediately. And now, in early September, there's a water shortage.
Oh, good.
'Cause
So wait, we were kind of basically like monsoon season for the last few months, and now there's a water shortage.
Well, so it's not like drinking water. They needed flowing water to grind the grain in the mills.
Oh.
So in September, they preserved the government corn until December.
And this is the grinding system that was ad
Not
hoc.
great
It was
anyway.
like, they were like, oh, you can't use stone? Yikes.
And then
Also, by this point, they could have bought an actual grinder.
correct. There's a lot of things. This is not a story where you say they did the best they could. It's not.
They did
some stuff.
They did some things. Yeah.
They did some stuff.
Yeah.
And now corn was available at 18 pounds a ton. People were eating the blighted potatoes, and by September, even the blighted taters were gone. There was no food in the markets, and one of the clerks who was distributing the government corn, Mr. Hughes, asked for early release, and so they gave him the last of their reserve in Skibbereen. He released 2 different amounts, but by the third time he asked for food, they said no, and in just a matter of 2 days, they had been emptied out for food, and it was still not enough. People were just sitting, waiting on fences, waiting to die. Like, just sitting there being like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
One of the only hopes was the big depot in Sligo Town, and in the first week of September, they issued 141 tons of meal, 217 the second week, 247 the third. But Trevelyan was worried about how much was being sold, and they were worried that they were going to completely run out of food. Mm-hmm. And because of the shortages, very reasonably, the East was also now applying for government depots because they were out of food. Because remember, in 46, they were like, we're only going to help where it's the worst. So by September, still only September, and again, I remind you, they only wanted to release government food in December. So we're still 3 months out from when they said food was coming. Things are getting dire. Poor laborers are swarming the streets, threatening shop owners, taunting men at a public works meeting. And there were militias like trying to stop that, but in some places like the town of Mayo, anarchy developed. Deaths innumerable from starvation, plunder, and robberies were occurring every day.
Yeah.
The bonds of society almost dissolved.
Yeah. I mean, pretty common factor when like that level of starvation.
Yeah, if that many people think they're going to die, they have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
In another town, a local gunman amused himself by terrorizing British officials. "This is a year of famine," he wrote to one potential victim. "Give the people the means of keeping themselves alive. If you do not, you had better bring your coffin with you. I will meet you on this noonday." I mean,
yeah.
At one point in Earl, this like wealthy-ish guy tried to quiet people down by insulting them. He was like negging a crowd. And so they started shouting at him about how they were starving to death.
Yeah.
And so he ended up throwing a pile of coins in the air and running away while people scurried to pick them up.
Yeah, that's a way out, I guess.
That's a way out.
Yeah.
Lord George Botinick, leader of the protectionist Tories, said that while 4 million needed food, Ireland only needed to keep all the grain they normally exported, and then 3 million would be fine.
Oh.
Which is almost
just
helpful.
Seeding 1 million people, being like, not bad.
They can't all be winners, you know?
Oh, God.
It's horrible. 3 days later, people sacked and pillaged an export center in northern Cork, and so merchants did give out 2,500 pounds to a relief fund out of fear.
Yeah,
and
kind of the merchant equivalent of throwing a bunch of coins up in the air.
Yeah. And that same day, an armed crowd blocked the passage of 2 barges that were transporting grain. Buildings were set on fire, merchants were beaten, and the first Royal Dragoons opened fire, and a moment later, 6 people were shot and 2 had died. So Prime Minister Russell ordered 2 gunships and several units to Ireland. So now there's just British military everywhere.
Yeah.
Cornmeal was up to 15 pounds a ton in September, and people were being told the American corn wouldn't even be there until December at the earliest. Oof. And so they talked about bridging the 4 to 5 month gap with barley and yams from the West Indies.
Okay.
But Ruth wanted the grain at home to be used to help the people at home. Trevelyan's response to 300,000 quarters of oats still being exported was to send Ruth a copy of the book about scarcity that he sent so many other people. And
what is this book about scarcity again?
I'd have to scroll up one moment. Yeah. But he said, a sudden and violent interference with the regular course of trade would be regarded by the mercantile community as the habit of government. Thoughts and details on scarcity that he first sent Pine Coffin.
Oh, yeah. A thrilling read.
Thoughts and details on scarcity.
You know, when you're not hungry, when you're not starving, what a read.
Maybe could be interesting.
Yeah.
Probably not.
No.
But
yeah, because you don't need. The thing about it all is you don't need to simulate scarcity when you just have scarcity.
When you're experiencing scarcity.
It's fully scarce.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So his ideology stopped them from what was logical. He just couldn't appreciate that they just needed to be helpful.
We need to get through this
moment,
full-on crisis that's happening. Yeah.
And from October to June, imports would exceed exports 5-1. And if they had kept the grain, it likely would have saved a lot of lives.
Yeah.
To sum up Trevelyan's biggest 4 F-ups.
Yeah, okay.
He let the grain leave the country. He got rid of the cheap prices of corn that could have controlled the market prices within reason.
Right.
And he put too much faith in merchants in finding food, and he would not let them buy food from other countries until mid-September when it was already gone.
And he's got horrible recommendations of books.
He only reads one book, and nobody likes it.
Nobody likes it.
In the 1860s, despite losing a third of the Irish population, Trevelyan would stand by not interfering in the corn trade and insist it somehow would have led to more deaths. So 20 years from now, he's like, I feel fine about this.
Get rid of this guy. Let's get the Goat King.
Get the Goat King.
It's time
to get rid of him. In 1846, public works meetings got very contentious, and landowners were approving any project at all because they thought that was the least dangerous path. They're like, you want to build a road? Here's a road.
Let's go.
Because it was a line between life and death, they needed that currency to buy food. So small and middling farmers were still only paying with potato ground, which was useless, and many large farmers weren't hiring at all because they didn't have cash to pay.
I can't believe somebody wasn't like, hey, let's use this money to do something that produces food.
Yeah.
Like, I know that
they're going to discuss a thing like that, but they're still not going to do what that would make sense.
You said earlier that the way that their laws are written around the public work systems, it's just way easier to build roads, which is why it's like
it's easier to get approved, and you get half of the money is a grant instead of a loan.
Right, which is no longer the case because they changed that. But even still, they're not like, maybe we do something for food.
Well, they're going to do something slightly that, but not quite that. And spoiler alert, doesn't
work. Right.
So by October 1st, only 26,000 men were employed by Public Works, and the papers were mad about it. If you remember, it was roughly 200, I forget the exact number, but over 200,000 the year before. By 1847, the board would have 10,000 overseers and 5,000 paid clerks and specialists, but in September of 1846, the year we're currently in, so by next year they're going to have all these people, but they had only about 100 employees.
Okay.
And they had 1.5 million applications to go through. So
it probably took them a little bit of time.
Incredibly understaffed. So now there's chaos and gridlock. Men are roving the streets and sacking food shops, and by October, there are now 114,000 working, which quadrupled the numbers since September. But now there's all these men that they're ready to pay, but there's not enough construction tools. And they literally don't have the physical money to pay them, so they have to go get it from the UK.
Even though that's the thing that they wanted, is to create a financial system.
They don't have it on hand.
Great. Smart, guys. Smart.
Really good planning.
Really nailed it.
And the piecemeal system slowed down everything, because basically they were like, we're done paying you for the day. We're going to pay you for how much you do. But the problem with that is, somebody had to calculate how much work they had been done, and everything's different. It's like if you're building a road, how many feet did you do? If you're digging a ditch, how deep is the ditch? I don't even know how you measure some of this in a real way, but they had to calculate it. The Board of Works in Dublin had to translate that wage, and there's no phones, there's no internet, there's no telegram. They're like mailing paper to be like, this is, how much we're going to pay for that, and then that had to be sent back to the work site. They would get some of their money right away, but it might take a month to get the rest.
Oh.
So some men just gave up working because they were like, what are you doing? They could also choose a flat rate to be paid instead of piecemeal, but it was 2 pence less a day than the average in the region. So that was like the workaround for that, which in most places was still a famine wage. A man could work for 3 days to give his family of 7, less than a pound of food each for 4 days. So 3 days of work gives you just enough to live on for 4 days.
Yeah.
People were assaulting works officers, and martial law was proclaimed in several districts. And as the fall went on, officers who were regulating all this were having nervous breakdowns. There were suicide attempts, desertions, and resignations. Yeah. Some people just walked off. They were like, I can't do this.
All those tall mustachioed men were just like,
6 foot men just being like, goodbye.
Yeah.
My head's in the clouds. Colonel Jones thought that the violence was because of bad press, because they were just getting worked up from the newspapers, and thought that they should publish the letters that showed people defending Irish interests, like show the paperwork of people wrongly
Did they find a lot of that?
Yeah, right. Well, it doesn't really matter because Trevelyan disagreed and sent him a copy of his favorite book, Thoughts and Details on Scarcity. The only thing that's not scarce is the amount of copies of book this man's own.
Yeah,
this man
owns. A book. What is a book if not a long-form pamphlet?
Yeah, right?
I love pamphlets.
So the labor rate tax had passed on August 28th, moving the debt to the wealthy Irish, who over the following weeks emphasized to the Irish cabinet members that this could not be done. They don't have this money. They can't feed the entire country when they're not making any money themselves. They complained that the new roads that had been built were pointless and badly constructed. And so they came up with a new idea, the Irish wealthy.
Okay.
What if they used the money from the labor rate to make private improvements on their estates?
What?
Well, it's good and bad.
Okay.
This would help the peasantry because it would help them pay workers and it would help landowners modernize. It would help them achieve this goal that the British have to modernize the area.
And it incentivizes these people that don't want to help the poor to help the poor.
Yes. The Irish wealthy landowners come up with this concept that they are going to be able to take out government loans to do private improvements on their land.
Okay.
But the Prime Minister and the Brits were horrified with this idea. The proposal lost in the House of Commons, and so the heads of the Irish government met on September 27th and said Russell really did not get this. He needed to see the situation, and he needed to approve some form of this idea. They had to get more public works, and it had to do more than build useless roads. So they then created the proposal that the loans could only be used for drainage to convert waterlogged land to farmland. And that was approved in October. In the mind of the Brits, the Irish had turned into one big impoverished group that was just dependent on the government, and they did not really want to help them. And at the Treasury, Trevelyan and Wood were determined to stop the dependency. It was the Age of Atonement, and everybody was very religious, like Protestant-wise. They kind of felt like everything bad that you did was because you're bad.
And everything bad that happened to you was your own fault because you're bad.
Yeah, and the Brits were largely Protestant, and they thought that some of this was happening because these people were Catholic, they were morally bad, or simply because they were Irish. Wood and Trevelyan thought the crop failures were a judgment from God on potato culture.
Oh, sure.
Which sounds like a vibe.
Yeah.
Live in that potato culture. And that, since it was so easy to cultivate normally, the potato, that has created dependency and backwardness and laziness, prone to drink, and that it made them rely on other people. So the fact that they were forced to eat the most boring food in the world to stay alive, that was because they were lazy and not because of every other circumstance.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I love a potato.
Sure. Sure, but
it's not. I don't want to eat it every day.
No,
it's crazy.
Yeah, Mark Watney, on Mars ate potatoes every day. He was not a big fan of them.
Yeah.
By the end,
they get boring.
Yeah.
They thought maybe this would all speed up the modernization of Ireland because they're idiots.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 10 people left. You can change their thoughts pretty easily.
Sure.
The blight has precipitated things with a wonderful impetus so as to bring them to an early head, declared Mr. Wood. Supreme wisdom has induced permanent good out of transient evil, agreed Mr. Trevelyan. So they're just like...
The both of you two need to get scarce.
They're like twirling their mustaches and wearing top hats and their pants are up to their nipples.
This may work quite
they're
nicely
just
for us.
Like, I'll never go to Ireland. I hear it's bad.
Oh, boy.
I don't want to see what I've done. The Treasury and the London Times began a relationship, and so the paper started leaking documents from the Treasury, and they would take a moralist stance, printing many editorials about the Irish dependency. So they're really a propaganda machine at this point. And there are times when something like harshness is the greatest humanity, one of the editorials said, which is literally insane. And how the Scots were handling their own relief was something to be admired. They were like, the Scots are doing great. And people who were once sympathetic were also turned off by the reports of people harming the relief officers, saying that the Irish had taken all this help to assault their benefactors, which is a tricky situation.
They don't understand what it's like to just fully starve.
To be dying. Obviously, I don't condone violence, but they're dying.
Yeah.
And to them, they're walking in, there's a British guy with a clipboard standing in front of a wall
pile
of
food, money,
and he can't eat it. Like... The Treasury then, at this point, very quietly put a ton of restrictions on the approved drainage loans that were supposed to help people so that barely anybody applied because you really couldn't get them anyway. And the drainage only produced about 27,000 jobs, which again, sounds like a lot, but when there's 8 million people in the country, it's not that much.
Yeah.
But the gentry was taking loans, applications of over $1.5 million. People were perplexed, but Colonel Jones told Trevelyan, people do not expect to have to pay back the money. Like, they're like, something is going to happen. I'm going to die. You're going to die. The country's going to fall apart. I just don't see myself.
Yeah, I mean, everything is so unprecedented that you're like,
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
They're giving me a check. I'm going to take the check. And then I'm going to move. There's no... Like, there's a paper trail in the sense that there are trails and there are paper, but like, it's 1846.
Yeah, they're just going to talented Mr. Ripley.
Lock the door and be like, there hasn't been an Irish guy here in 25 years.
My name is Stuart.
Yeah, that's not me. I'm Sean of Sean's
Pub. Sean's Pub.
I almost said Sean's Pine Coffin, but that's different.
Yeah.
So Mr. Hewitson, who had replaced Pine Coffin.
Pine Coffin.
He had been sent to Scotland to handle their relief, which he probably liked because they were less sad.
Yeah.
So Mr. Hewitson was running the Limerick Government Food Depot. He took over in 1846, and he went and he actually surveyed many of the potato fields himself. And he was asking people like, hey, is this your field? What's up? These look bad. He's getting an actual sense of the situation. And while many men that fall felt like they were looking forward to something terrible, right. When you read something and you have the wrong intonation because are thinking
you're
it's
just
a different
saying
way.
The words out loud.
It's not what you were. And many men that fall felt like they were looking forward to something terrible, and everyone's mind is super unsettled and anxious because they're just like, we're alive today.
Yeah.
Don't know how we're gonna eat.
No.
Going to bed every night not knowing how you're going to eat the next day is not a good feeling.
Yeah. Falling to sleep, having a hard time falling asleep because of hunger pains and then waking up just to more hunger.
Yeah. And still no idea of a solution. So at the end of the summer, Ruth had said that he was going to need 16,000 tons of corn but by September he asked for another 25,000. But there was only 3,100 tons in the depots and almost nothing left unpurchased in the world. So he has about a tenth of what he asked for, and that's all
there's none
to be had
anywhere.
Trevelyan was boasting about sending 100 tons to a depot, and Ralph lost it and was like, there needs to be 1,000. What are you talking about 100? Like, who cares? The Treasury then announced that the depots in the West would close until after Christmas to keep a small reserve. So the people who are dead can eat? I don't know who this reserve is for. Prices were crazy high, and merchants were making money in Cork, but prices had risen about 50 to 60% for food.
Yeah, the thing about all this is, wherever you stand on the side of capitalism, they're making money while people are actively starving, and they just don't need to make the money. They're not.
What's the point?
Yeah, it's just like, especially if it's food that's created in Ireland that could be going to Irish people. Maybe we don't make money this season because everyone is dying.
Incredibly wealthy people, live in such a delusional world that they don't have the capacity, apparently, to have this thought. But I just can't imagine, as a normal person, walking through the world with enough money to live, put a little bit in savings, maybe go on a vacation once a year, just live.
Yeah.
I walk by somebody truly in need, and I either give them something or don't, but either way, I feel terrible.
Right.
And I see their suffering, and I say, I wish this was different.
Yeah.
The idea that you can just be like, I'm making money.
Yeah.
When I walk through town, I see skeletons.
Right.
Why do you want to live in a skeleton town?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the idea that you see someone working really, really hard and still being poor, and you're like, wow, I haven't had to sweat in my entire life.
Yeah, I must be inherently better than these people.
I'm just so much better at
God
working
wanted me to be happy, and
well,
those
that's where,
tiny child skeletons to be sad.
That's 1,000% where all of this moralization comes from, is just a justification for
your own comfortable.
Yeah, because the whole system, this whole boss system, is predicated on the idea that the person at the top doesn't have to do any work but makes a bunch of money.
But also the idea of a moral person being afforded benefits and an immoral person not.
Yeah.
Then you have to live in a world where you believe children are already immoral?
Right.
What have the children done to not eat? Explain that to me.
Yeah.
Or do they just have to suffer because their parents have to suffer? It doesn't.
Right.
Now I'm just fired up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when they asked Ralph why corn wasn't being sold at cost, he said that a bad decision had produced bad habits. Some people ignored the order to close their depots because they were being approached by skeletons. And they were like, we're just going to feed the skeletons. Yes. But some, like the depot in Westport, were shut down, and Ralph kept telling himself a delusional lie that the tiny mud-thatched cabins of the peasants must have secret food supplies that they just haven't dipped into
They're still
yet.
saying that?
Yeah. You know the cabins that they can knock down with a 2x4 and a dog?
Yeah.
Those. They have secret food safes. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, a man in Skibbereen dropped dead on the work crew, and 1,000 men marched into town to protest the closing of their depot. Soldiers came up from the barracks, and it was the only thing that stopped these men from sacking all the shops. But in Galway, where the depots closed, a crowd stole a cow and killed it in the street, leaving only a hide and a bit of fat. People are starving.
Yeah.
Speculation and hoarding in the market was running rampant, and in a week, the price of wheat, oatmeal, and flour rose another 50%. But they were told that it would be okay, that the high prices would attract foreign imports, and that in the spring, a ton of corn was coming from the Ukraine and the U.S., and that even the prices would drop.
Yeah.
But it's not the spring.
Yeah.
It's barely the beginning of
winter. And there's also not enough corn in the world.
There's literally not enough corn in the world. The prices of food were so high that even working people were starving. There were export riots in September. Places were sacked. Warehouses were burnt. Soldiers were beaten. Yeah. And families had started boarding themselves in their cabin to die together when the potatoes ran out.
And just nobody was like, let's grow corn here? Nobody?
I think the land wasn't hospitable to it.
Okay.
In Mayo, a town fought with a flock of crows over a week-old horse carcass.
Oof.
And at the end of October, the last of the grain crop had sailed out of Cork.
No.
I think we need a fun fact.
Yeah, I think we could use a fun fact. Yeah.
One of the lions used in the opening clips for MGM movies was born in Dublin.
Oh, the he's a cool lion. I wonder what his name was.
They didn't say his name.
Reginald?
Probably. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
It's like Reginald. More legendary.
Reginald Fairfield. So people are trying to start to think outside the box because they don't know what to do, but very little of it helped. They were going to station boats to send small delivery ships, One of the ideas was they were in station boats on the coast of the West where it was really bad. They would have these little boats that would have provisions for immediate help. So if a town was like in dire, they'd be like, here's 100 pounds or whatever.
Yeah.
But most of them couldn't even land on the jagged land's edge of the West.
Okay.
And so some towns would see the boat come to shore, get excited, all go to the port, and the boat couldn't actually get to the port, and they would have to walk home empty-handed.
Yeah. Get your rowboats out, fellas.
Figure it out.
Come on.
I mean, they're dying and they don't have rowboats, so those are two problems with that. But I appreciate
they could have used
saying.
the works progress,
to make rowboats.
You can make some
a
rowboats
rowboat system, build a better dock.
Yeah.
The Irish or the UK wanted to buy food for them in Malta, but the high price was simply too much. They talked about importing yams, but then London decided that Ireland wasn't the right climate for yams. They also didn't have enough milling power, and there was hundreds of tons of unground corn in the warehouses.
Can you not just get it pre-ground?
Well, I guess not. But also, they were like...
Maybe
they
it
had
spoils
some,
faster. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. They had some bad ideas.
Yeah.
At first, they said, what if we don't mill it? And a guy named Captain Percival came up with a way to eat unmilled corn, but it took 15 hours, 12 hours of soaking in cold water and then boiling it for 3.5 the next day. So that's not the most helpful. Trevelyan had another idea, a personal hand mill. We give the people unmilled corn.
Okay.
They mill it themselves. Those really strong, hardy people.
Yeah, right.
So he got 4 mills, a couple from museums, one from a plantation in the United States, and also a coffee grinder, and had a guy create a hybrid. Had the Royal Engineers actually create a hybrid, which was called the Kilkee Mill. But it cost 15 shillings. People don't have 15 pence. Like it's like, do you guys want to buy a car to drive on the roads that you built to nowhere? It's like that's an insane ask. So then they asked for donations to provide the mills to the poor. It didn't go well.
Yeah, because they got all those donations to do other really dumb stuff.
Yeah. The only thing that he kind of did to help was that did do, and it kind of helped, is he ended the Scottish preference, because at first the Scottish were getting all the best stuff.
Okay.
But they only had 600,000 people at risk of starving, not 4 to 5 million people. And those people could also move to the lowlands and work in all these brand new factories that had been opening up. Okay. So they finally realized, hey, maybe we help the people that need it the most, dying, regardless of their different brogues.
Yeah,
like, I don't understand. Whatever. That's probably very deep seated and
I'm sure
religious and mean and okay.
They were pretty bad to the Scottish as well.
The end of the next like 10 minutes I'm gonna pre-fun fact us.
There we go.
I
hope this one's extra fun.
I gotta find a really good one. Ireland is the Emerald Isle. We knew that, you website. The Brazen Head is the oldest pub in Dublin. But we already talked about the oldest bar. That's not good enough. County Cork was once the largest exporter of butter in the world.
Whoa.
But also they could have eaten that butter. Okay, keep going.
Is Kerrygold from Cork?
I believe it is. I believe it is. Cork is the biggest county. These are getting less fun. That's a famine fact. It's super
I know,
fun.
but I had to get out of the famine fact.
Oh, this is kind of fun.
Okay.
The first St. Patrick's Day parade was not held in Ireland. It was held in Boston in 1737.
Okay.
And the largest one takes place in New York City.
Huh.
I have heard this before, but I don't really know that the Irish care a lot less about St. Patrick than we do. They're kind of like, yeah, he's fine. He's one of the saints. And we're like, he's the guy.
He's the guy. With the snakes.
We drove them out, but also Ireland's just never had snakes or something. I forget exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it.
Thanks, Saint.
He definitely did it.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay. Are you ready to be a little sad?
So ready.
Do you have anything silly you need to get out of there before you?
No, I've been pretty broody this episode. So
I also think the pre-warning of hey, this is sad helps, because then you're not.
Yeah. So if y'all are feeling sad,
get ready to be sadder. Well, I mean, it's not surprise. None of it's a surprise. None of it's going to be like, what? It's it's
there
bad.
isn't miracle.
You guys know how many people are going to die.
Yeah, a lot. I wonder if they could have made vodka with the sad old potatoes.
Fungus vodka?
Yeah, fungus vodka.
And sold that to who? Fungus Russians?
Yeah. Maybe.
Could have traded it to the Ukraine for some.
When, if life gives you moldy potatoes.
Make bad vodka.
Make bad vodka.
Very common phrase.
It's a common phrase.
Death is now becoming very common.
Oh, no.
And half of the children in the workhouses in Skibbereen were either dead or fated to die. People were collapsing dead on the street, and others were roaming the streets, wolf-like in appearance, begging, looting, fighting, attacking convoys, killing and stealing cows and sheep. Men were breaking into the houses of their large farmers, demanding their rent money back for the useless potato ground. But landlords were still not creating work for the poor, and now they were not even paying them to sow the land.
Oh.
So the burden increased on the Board of Works. The numbers had been between 70 to 100,000 workers at the end of December, and now it was 441,000.
Okay.
But still, in some places, 70% of applicants had been turned away. So it's in no way enough work. Men still weren't being paid properly, and some died even with jobs. And now the women and younger children were on the work sites. Only the youngest kids below 5 were at the site with their family, gathering around small turf fires or hiding under wagons.
Yeah. The really tough thing about all of this is that if they're doing, because all of these works things are probably heavy in manual labor.
Yes.
So, like, you're making money to get food, which needs to be a certain level of calories to keep you alive. However, because you're working harder, you're spending more energy. So it, like, makes the bargain even more
Which is probably
bleak.
why a lot of them were like, I'm going to sit on this fence.
Yeah.
Like, why would I?
Yeah.
They're dying too. Like,
yeah.
Workhouses started collapsing under the need. Children were dying. There was cesspools of disease everywhere. Like, there wasn't enough drainage in the workhouses. And some Irish started to feel like this was a purposeful genocide. There was a quote that I'm just going to read in full because I feel like it is very appropriate. But British relief policy was never deliberately genocidal, according to this author, but its effects often were. Passing through southwest Cork in early December, one traveler could barely credit the things he saw. Fever, dropsy, diarrhea, and famine, rioting in every filthy hovel and sweeping away families. 75 tenants ejected here and a whole village in the last stage of destitution there. The dead bodies of children flung into holes, hastily scratched into the earth without shroud or coffin. Wives traveling 10 miles to beg the charity of a coffin for a dead husband and bearing it back that weary distance. A government official offering 1/10 of a sufficient supply of food at famine prices, neither mill nor corn store within 20 miles, every field becoming a grave and the land a wilderness.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting bad.
Yeah.
It's been bad.
Yeah, but also, like, this also isn't the last year of this.
No, there's like 5 more. Ralph requested the depots stay open, but Trevelyan told him no, that the UK and the Scots were in need too, and that they couldn't spare more for the Irish. And in December, Daniel O'Connell gave a speech saying London wasn't doing enough. He acknowledged that his alliance with the Whigs did not work, and he finally did lose his position of respect. Young Ireland did take over, but unfortunately they were busy from September to October promoting, quote, the intellectual and moral discipline that best fits men for freedom.
What?
Which might not be super helpful in this moment.
No, not so helpful.
The problem again with Young Ireland is they're well off, and a lot of them were UK educated. So they have probably some of this stigma as well, and they're not starving to death.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, we're gonna do our pious work and not
and not the very pressing work of stopping famine. Yeah.
Okay, so we're almost done, but it is.
Okay, a little bit more bleakness.
It's gonna get more. Yeah, it's.
It's always bleakest before the more bleakness.
The second longest running talk show in the world hails from Ireland.
Wow.
The Late Late Show, an Irish chat show, first aired in 1962. The only other show that's been running longer is The Tonight Show.
Wow.
So, that's fun.
That is fun.
Right?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. All right. And because things weren't good enough, at the end of November, they had a full week of snow.
Oh, great.
It covered the fields. It covered the bodies on the ground. It covered the land where shoeless, jacketless families
kill the fungus.
It did not.
Dang.
For seaweed. There were people starving in doorways, and it made the bad roads impassable. And in December, mass death is going to begin.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the more upsetting stories.
Oh, super.
One woman, Bridie Sheehan, had already buried her husband and son, and she came back home to her daughter, who was dead.
God.
She cleaned her up and put her on her back, taking her to the chapel to bury her, and someone else came up to help. And when she left the bodies, she said, "God bless all of you. No one else will join you now. There's only me left, and there will be nobody to look after me, to bury me here or anywhere else." I would have just laid down dead.
I would have been like, I think I'll be here, man.
I'm clocking out. It's just the saddest.
Jesus.
The idea that you're like, I have to go home and try to live without my family and not even get to rest with them as a person who probably really believes that they need to be with them and would prefer that.
Yeah.
As most people would. That's not But still, very importantly,
yeah. But also, not... It just goes back to the whole thing of, these people are dying and starving, and they have just such an abundance of moral rectitude that even in all of this, they're unwilling to, roll over and die.
Yeah. There was also literally a coffin shortage.
Mm.
But the women who could afford would balance an empty one on their head and walk it back to their homes. If people couldn't afford or find a coffin, they would often bury their dead at night to avoid the embarrassment. And wakes and funerals, which had been a big part of the Irish culture, ended because there was really no one left to mourn the people dying.
Mm-hmm.
People had sold their clothing already, so many faced this winter barefoot, wearing rags. And most of the pawned clothing ended up in the UK, pulped into paper mills. So it's not even it's just being At one point, they were even selling Irish hair.
Oh, God.
In pallet, clumps.
To turn into clothes?
I think
bedding,
horsehair.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. And it was one merchant was like, I think this is gonna work. It didn't become a big export. It was just a weird idea.
Oh, God.
In December, the animals also started to die off. The crows dying in the fields and roads, the horses and pigs, the dogs dying and preying on each other. Mm-hmm. There was it was a long anecdote, but it was basically one night of weird bird sounds, and then they came out in one village and basically all their crows had died in the same night. They were just had fallen down dead.
Yeah. That's haunting. Yeah. That feels like an omen.
Yeah. It's not a good one.
Not good.
In Dublin, a few weeks before Christmas, 2 young Irish women sat in a cheerless, unheated room and calculated the days remaining to them. We've been talking, Mary and I, one of the young women told an American visitor, "The furthest the good God will give us on this earth cannot be more than 14 days. And the American said, "You are willing to live longer?" And they said, "We cannot see how." That's where we're going to leave it for this week.
Yeah. Interesting that there were visitors.
Yeah.
Just
weird poverty tourism.
Doing a little vacation, yeah.
I mean, maybe they didn't. I don't know. It feels weird. It's in Dublin, so I guess Dublin's a city, but it's weird.
Feels strange.
It's weird.
I had the trip planned for years, so
I bought the boat ticket. Oh, that's our last. That's not really fun. The Titanic was built in Ireland.
Oh.
I need one more really good one.
Yeah. The funnest of fun facts.
Just vamp for a minute.
Yeah, that's vamping, right?
Just making sounds.
Yeah, well, I think vamping is a musical thing where they just are basically doing elevator jazz.
I thought vamping was just take it up a little, keep it.
Yeah, but I think it's I don't know. Maybe I'll find that fun fact about vamping. It's probably not vampiring unless it's about Bram Stoker and Dracula. You're vamping.
Yeah.
Sucking blood and with your buds. That's what vampires do.
Sucking blood with your buds.
Yeah, that's right.
That's like the poor men that drank cow's blood.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. That was... oh, boy.
Them bloody buddies.
I'm looking for a good one. These are... Yeah, this is all... The corn cake. A bird died because of the lock of the... Everything's bad. Ireland has no moles.
Okay. Yeah, because St. Patrick, after getting rid of the snakes, was like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about, like, on their face?
No, I'm talking about ground moles.
No beauty marks.
Yeah. There was a fact about castles I'm trying to find because that feels... Also, literally every single website that I've Googled, fun facts in Ireland, somewhere they're like, did you know 2 million people died? I'm like, that's not a fun
That's not a fun fact.
Learn. Okay, here it is. Ireland has more castles per square kilometer than almost any other country in Europe.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Estimates suggest that 30,000 castle structures survive in various states of preservation, from intact tower houses to moss-covered stone mounds at the corner of a field. On almost every waymarked way, you'll pass ruined tower houses that have become so naturally integrated into the landscape that locals barely notice them. Most were built between the 12th and 17th centuries. Many were never grand affairs, just a small landlord's fortified home.
Okay.
So it's all pre-famine.
Yeah.
But
So vamping, because now that people got to know. But apparently in music, it's improvised repeating a short musical phrase, like a chord sequence or an accompaniment over and over again, and just kind of continuing some background music while somebody else prepares until like a cue is given, and then they start whatever their other thing is.
Is this AI?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
Staying up during the night. Apparently in 2014, people said vamping was staying up late.
Yeah.
But we've all heard that before, right? Like vamping is like if you're like an award show, they say vamping.
Yeah. But I think that the point of it is, in a musical sense, was to like fill space while the next thing got prepared.
Which is what it is.
I know. I'm agreeing with you.
Doesn't feel like it. Feels like you're Googling things to disagree with me.
No, I was vamping badly.
Badly.
No.
Was that did you say vamp? No, you said Val?
I just said Val. I made a noise.
Oh, 3 coffees, 1 whiskey.
Not enough.
1 podcast episode.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it.
Sure did. And so did you. Thanks for
3.
listening.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
There will probably be 2 more parts because there's a lot more stuff.
A lot more.
Sad.
I
want to bum everybody out. I'm going to do a heisty dumb thing next time.
Ooh, okay.
I got a couple ideas.
Okay.
And none of them have much depth.
Just a silly mess around.
Just a mess around.
Yeah,
I
sure.
gotta, this is bumming me out.
Okay, yeah.
So if you're like a new listener and you're like, man, bummer. Some are less of a bummer.
Some are less of a bummer.
Because sometimes we like scamsters. And I found...
Isn't the Catch Me If You Can guy not as redeemable as the end of that movie?
Yeah, he's not. He's not like a rascal. He's a little more nefarious.
He's pretty nefarious too. Yeah.
But maybe we'll talk about him someday.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. If you have a topic for us, youththerichpod@gmail.
Especially one that's like heisty and fun.
Yeah. If you have anything else you want to draw to our attention, if you heard the word vamping and you thought about talking, let us know.
Yeah.
Follow us on the social.
You've got some like fan art that you want us to turn into merch.
Yeah. If you are watching us on YouTube, leave a comment. We love a comment.
Sure.
Thank you to the 74 people on YouTube.
Yeah.
We appreciate
Y'all
you. Tell
are
your
great.
friends. You're great.
Yeah.
We love you. I don't know why I'm vamping now.
Yeah. It's time to
I get to go to bed when we're done. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening. And a big thanks to Carsey Blanton for the theme music. You can follow the podcast everywhere at Yeet the Rich Pod. You can email us your suggestions for future episodes at yeettherichpod@gmail. You can follow me at TheFunnyWalsh, and you can follow Danny at DMoss315. See you next week.